welcome back to another episode of Paul's Pod. Today's guest is making her boxing debut on the upcoming Floyd Mayweather card in 2 weeks' time against Hayley Barraclough. It's the one and only Sammy-Jo Luxton. Hi, Sammy, how are you?
Ooh, I'm good, thanks.
How did the boxing fight come about? I know that obviously you're an unbelievable professional Thai boxer, got a load of background in Thai, but I think when we spoke earlier on, when we were first talking about maybe doing something, that I remember you mentioning that, you've always had ambition as of late to, box and do Muay Thai. Like, how did this fight come about?
It was pretty random, to be fair. I basically got a call saying, "Do you want to fight on the Mayweather card?" And I actually thought it was a joke. So I was like, "Yeah, just get me on it." And then all of a sudden, like, things actually started rolling out, and they were like, "Right, so you need to do this, this, this." And I thought, "Oh my god, this is actually happening." And then obviously the poster went out, and then I was like, "Oh my god, it's actually fully confirmed now." So it's been quite a quick turnaround, but thankful for it.
Yeah, because Mayweather only got announced to fight only two weeks ago, if that, because it was announced that he was going to fight Liam Harrison, wasn't it? And then obviously Liam's got his knee surgery, so he can't fight. But it was just like you said, the turnaround was super quick. Like normally it's a few months at least when you know a Mayweather card, but it was only a few weeks. I mean, does it kind of help with it being a bit shorter? Does it give you like less time to prepare, but kind of less time to think about things, or?
Yeah, I'm a massive overthinker. So, like, when I get a fight, they go, "Right, do you want to fight?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's fine. Just don't tell me the name because I don't want to know until the poster comes out." Because I just do this deep dive where I go into Instagram, YouTube, like, I'll search them. Oh, no, they're grandma's, aunties, best friends, whatsoever. It's like, that is how deep I'll go, and I just get swallowed up in it. So, I'd rather not know who I'm fighting to then just fully focus on training at that point.
At what point did you know that you wanted to start venturing into boxing?
I started doing a bit of boxing with Daryl just to sharpen up my hands. Obviously, for the likes of one championship and things like that, with the 3 rounds, it's sort of not kickboxing as such, but like it's very fast paced and like obviously with the smaller gloves, punching is key. So I was just working on that, and then I just caught myself like liking it more. So like the learning process of it, and I said like I'd actually love to fight boxing, and then Daryl was like, yeah, we'll get it sorted, and I think I've been in a year now of boxing, so and now it's come about.
Would you say you've got a preference over boxing at the moment?
Honestly, I love it all. I feel like because I've done Thai for so long, like over half my life now, that just something new is fresh and exciting.
If we jump back to your last fight, so you fought towards the end of last year. The fight didn't go your way. I was there. I thought you won the fight. How did that how did that affect you? Did you let it? I mean, you said you're an overthinker, but knowing that you think that you won the fight and you didn't get the result, was that tough to kind of get through, or?
Yeah, quite tough. Definitely on the overthinking side, and social media really didn't help at that point. Because as soon as I lost, my phone lit up, and half of the people were like, "I thought you won that," blah blah. Half of the people loved the fact that I lost, and they were putting up posts like, "Sammyjo lost, she lost," and it was like they were excited that I lost. I thought that's a bit weird, so I started overthinking about that. So I ended up just shutting my phone off for a week and just see you later.
How did you manage to get over it? Like, what was there something that just kind of clicked in your brain and thought, like, I'm not gonna let this shit get to me, or was it just the longer it went on, the more accepted you? Whether it's just one of those things. There's not really much you can do, even though you won the fight. You just didn't get the
Yeah,
result
so
because of the way.
I went back home to Devon and then just chilled out a bit with my family, and then just straight back to the gym. And luckily, all the lads in there, they don't mess about. They'll tell you how it is, and they'll say, "Right, so you need to get your shit together. Basically, stop moping about and start hitting the bag." So that's what I did.
What was it like growing up in Devon?
Awful. Like I if you look at the place, it is so lovely. The malls, the beaches, everything. But the people are stuck in the 1940s, basically. So being a girl fighter, I was just losing battle, basically. So especially with like sponsorships and things, because I was going to companies and going, "Would you like to sponsor me? I'm like worldwide fighting," and they would go, now we're going to sponsor the men's football team down the road. I thought, all right, thanks.
You don't really hear of any fighters, like not even just like women fighters, but like fighters coming from Devon. It's not really a common place. Like, how did you even get into fighting? Have you got a fighting family, or was it something that just kind of piqued your interest at a young age?
So it's Christy Burton that got me into fighting. She's been family friend for ages, like close enough that my sister's godmum is her mum. And then she's been fighting pretty much her whole life. And she went away for a bit, and then all of a sudden she came back and she was teaching classes, but like more on a fitness self-defense side. And then I said, oh, let me join in that. And then after 6 weeks they went, does that you want to fight? And my mum and dad were like, absolutely not. I said, come on, just one fight. And then tough luck, mum and dad. Loads of fights later.
So no one in your family is a fighter. Like no one has had an interest in fighting, really.
No, pretty much just followed suit of Christy, and then she ended up being my training partner. And obviously, she got to glory, but then she ended up getting a knee injury. But she's actually gone into boxing now as well, and she's doing the boxing scene down south.
So talk to me about the journey then. So you started to pick it up just because you were enjoying it. You started to have one fight. Like, what was the transition of, just keep on going because you were enjoying it, to then thinking, okay, maybe I want to take this a bit more seriously. Like, what were the steps of the transition to becoming a professional fighter?
So I was very young when I started, like 11 years old. So I was more doing it for fun. I was a proper adrenaline junkie, and I loved all sports. So I was doing that once a week, and then they asked me to fight, and they said, right, we need you to come in twice a week. And then as the fights started getting harder, they were like, right, come in 3 times a week, come in 4 times a week. And then I was 15 or 16 when I went pro. So I was going in the morning and training twice a day. And then it got to like school exams, and then I was fighting for the WBC under 18s title, and my teachers hated the fact that I had like prioritized the fight because it was a day before my exams or something like that. And I said, yeah, well, I'm going to be a fighter anyway. So, and they did not like that. But and then after that, I went in to do an apprenticeship, and then I had to stop fighting for a bit, which killed me inside, and I sort of went off the rails. But yeah, I went a bit crazy. And then came back, and then I was like, right, I just want to fully focus on it now. Ended up quitting my job, and now I'm full time.
It's crazy to think how many school teachers just completely shit on someone that has an aspiration to do something that's kind of outside the bubble of what you're taught in school. Just automatically just think, oh no, why would you want to do that? Like fighting for a
Yeah,
WBC world under 18 world title is, I think, slightly more important than a school exam.
yeah, I remember just being sat in biology, and she said it in front of the whole class as well. So it's like, not when you hear
Oh,
like,
what a
yeah, my
bitch!
teacher said, like I had like 30 people to back me up to say, oh my god, I can't believe she actually said that to you. Well, she actually said my parents were idiots for letting me do it, and I think that's the bit that like really hurt me. But I ended up just
I bet that
smashing my
teacher just
exams, and
looks
I passed
stupid
every
now.
single one.
So if you went pro at 16, were you like, what did you have any aspirations to do anything else before fighting? Like, did you have, obviously I know that you said you started pretty young, so everyone's, not a lot of people might not know what they want to do at that age. But was it just kind of the timing of when you found fighting just happened to fit perfectly into finding out what you wanted to do, I guess?
I always said I wanted to be something to do with sports. So I was doing athletics, I was doing netball, I ended up doing rounders, cricket. I did literally every sport you could think of. And my parents were like, you're going to have to just choose one at this rate because you can't keep on doing all of these. And I was like, I can't decide. And then slowly but surely, fighting started to take priority over all of them. And I think probably from about 14, that's when I knew that I just wanted to do this full time.
So when you started your apprenticeship, like what was the reasoning into going into that and then not focusing on fighting entirely? Was it just kind of you were just trying to think of a safe option or trying to, make ends meet, and that's what you kind of had to do at that time to get to fighting? Or
Yeah, it got to the point where my parents had put in lots of money to make my amateur career what it was. And then the pro fights were coming in. That's why I was desperate to get sponsors as well to help with meals and kit, because I was running through that, and gloves and shinnies aren't like cheap. So I
No.
was getting my own money that way, and I was close to home as well, because I had no aspiration of going to uni and things like that. So I think mainly for the fact that the gym was there, and I didn't want to go to a new gym at that point in time.
I think a lot of people that follow fighting probably don't even realize how much money it costs just to train. Like in order to just stay consistently training and to get your one-on-ones, to pay for the PTs, to pay for your strength and conditioning, like you said, all the meal prep, all your gear, like it's not a cheap bill.
No, especially the travel for us. So a lot of the fights are up north. So Manchester, Liverpool, Blackpool, Newcastle. And so each weekend it was my dad going, right, where are we going this weekend? I was going, right, we're in Manchester. And he was filling up with petrol and things like that. And it was taking us hours and hours and hours. And like my parents were having to take days off work. So they were losing money in the end.
So, your parents, even though they weren't into fighting necessarily, it's amazing that they've supported you and they've been there the whole way. Like, considering that, because a lot of families, when their kids say that they want to go into fighting, a lot of families might not take that the right way and just think, oh, why would I want to let my child become a professional fighter and get the living shit kicked out of each other? But were they just completely
Yeah.
supported from the get go?
Yeah, my dad loved it. Like as soon as he said about the fight, it was more my mum, which was like, "No, she can't fight. She's got netball," and like things like that. So my dad came to my fights to begin with, and my mum would not come. And someone in her work said, like, "What if something happens to her and like she wants her mum there?" And from that point, that my mum got told that, my mum came to every single one. She buys the tickets. She sits there with something over her face. There's photos, and it's funny. I'm low kicking someone in the back. My mum's praying in the back of the picture. So and she ended up coming to Malaysia with me for the World Games. So she told me, yeah, 4 weeks off, please. I'm going to Malaysia with Sammy, and she was like the crew hairdresser, basically.
I don't think parents, especially mums, I don't think they'll ever find it easy to watch their child fight. It's very different when it's like your actual child fighting. Like it's obviously we can understand when you watch your mates fight. Like watching your mates is hard enough in big fights, and then like as a child, it's just like a different level of anxiety.
Yeah, yeah, big time. They hate it, but they also love it at the same time. Like now, their whole Facebook, Instagram is just fighting. I'm like, why are you following them? I know them. Oh, well, I saw one of their fights. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't even live at home anymore. And they're phoning me up going, did you see so and so's fight? We watched it the other day. So I fully transfer them over
They're
to the
fully
fight world.
immersed.
So yeah.
So was the fact that all of the competitions and all the fights were up north, was that like kind of your decision to then say, okay, well, I can't keep relying on like my mum and dad paying for all the petrol and traveling. Is it just easier for me to just move up north?
Yeah, it was just a load of little things. So like, I could sort of see that everybody up north was getting those last minute fights. I don't know whether it's like a north south divide or I don't know, but they seem to prioritise the north lot to jump in last minute. And I was training full time just all year through. So I felt like I could jump in and do them sort of fights. And then I was just fed up with Devon, wasn't getting any sponsorships and things like that. So it was time for a change up.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that there's so much more to the world than where you're from.
Yeah, big
So
time.
much more. Like I grew up in Malta, and for me, like I could. There's so many people that can sit and say, "Oh, well, Malta's a beautiful country. You've got everything you want there," but it's just like after when you grow there and you live there for 18 years, it's the same shit, the same people, 17 miles long. Like you said, you've got to find new challenges to step out your comfort zone because that's the only way you grow. When did
Yeah.
you move? When did you move to Leeds?
August 2021, I think it was. But yeah, I got off to a bit of a bad start because I ended up being hospitalised in the October, I think it was, or September. So then couldn't fight because I was raring to go straight away. But I think that
What
ended up pushing my first fight back till April 2022, I think it was.
what happened? Why did you go to hospital?
So I've got cysts in my ovaries, and the doctors back home um, didn't really want to look into it. Shock, and they started giving me all these tablets for pain. which was called methonemic acid, and all these tablets I was taking, it was feeding the cysts basically,
Oh,
and then as I got up here, just something happened in my body that just made them pop. So all this acidic stuff went into my ovary and then burnt a hole through it, and then all the gunk went into my bloodstream.
fucking
So I
hell.
was having seizures and things like that, which wasn't great. So yeah, I spent a lot of time in hospital, in and out.
Mate, the NHS are fucked, They're so quick to just like dash you away and just say, oh, it's not a problem, come back, it's not that bad. They'll just try and feed you with as much tablets as possible. I've got 2 slip discs in my back, right? And it took me like almost a year to get diagnosed because whenever I kept on going to the NHS, they just kept on saying, "Oh well, have you tried just painkillers to take the pain away, or have you tried like steroid injections?" Like, mate, I know that it's not something that can be fixed with a tablet. Like, I need to get an MRI.
Yeah. Yeah, see, that's what I was saying. And like, I was doing on the phone consultations, and they were like, "So, what's your job?" I was like, "Oh, well, I fight." And they were like, "Oh, so you get hit in the stomach then?" I said, "I know it's not that because I've been doing this since I've been a baby. So, like, I know it's not that." But yeah, it's all sorted now, though. So, we move.
So you touched on the fact that you're not like the north-south debate kind of. I'm not quite sure what it's like with Muay Thai. I'd be interested to hear what you think. But from what I know with MMA, especially like all the shows up north, you just got northerners fighting northerners, and then down south it's the same. You just got southerners fighting southerners. Why do you think that is?
Honestly, I don't even know. That it seems to be the way that it is. And I don't think there was ever a change point. I think it's been like this since I've started doing fighting. Um, Maybe I don't even know whether it's expenses, because obviously if you're traveling from north to south, you're gonna have to pay for petrol and a hotel and
Yeah.
things like that. So it might be easier just to keep everybody in one section, so then it minimizes expenses. I don't know.
I feel like it'd be so much better if the whole country decided just to mix in with competitions and fighters going up and training at different gyms. But yeah, probably the expense is one of the biggest factors I could imagine. And just I think there's just generally always a north south divide, no matter what it is really.
Yeah,
But like in Muay Thai, I get the impression it's a lot of like northwest is like the main hub in the north, and then down south is just like London. Is that pretty
yeah,
much what
pretty
it's like?
much. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's a few good gyms in like Birmingham, but a lot of them lot travel over to train at different gyms like in London. So yeah, I feel like it's sort of Leeds, Manchester, London. That's sort of the main attractions for Muay Thai.
How did you come to the decision to go to Bad Company? Because they're a phenomenal Thai gym. They're one of the best Thai gyms in Europe, I think. They're unbelievable.
Yeah, so I sent a message out to all my little Thai boxing friends, and I was like, if you could see me at any gym in the whole of the UK, where would you put me at? And they were like, Badco, Badco, Badco. Like I didn't even like put it out there, because in the back of my head that's sort of where I wanted to go, because I've watched them growing up, and like I knew a few of them from just fighting. So I was like, right, we'll go Badco, Badco, Badco. And then I went up for a little training session. And then Andy ended up taking me on the pads. And then it was just like a laughy, jokey vibe. But like I still put in the work. And I thought, this is it. Like I'm sold, because I just wanted to get to the gym because I really enjoyed it. And I knew that I would train hard as well.
It kind of fits in with your style as well because you've got a very aggressive style, and that's kind of the whole Bad Call style, isn't it? It's just get in your face, bite down the gum shield, and just non-stop going forward and just throwing down, which is what most fans love. It's an exciting style.
Yeah, and it's just adding in like the techniques as well. So obviously Liam has his website, and in training he'll be like, right, just twist this a little bit, do this a little bit, and then like my power will just skyrocket. It's like now I know why you're knocking people out left, right, and center, because like these little tips and
It's the fine
tricks.
details.
So
The fine details make the
yeah,
biggest difference.
yeah, wow, they won't mind me saying this, but like they're very simple people, and I'm a simple person. So, like, when someone says something to me, sometimes I just don't get it. But the way they say it to me, I'm like, oh, right, this makes a lot of sense. So,
So now that you're making your boxing debut, have you had much thought into how often you want to be going back and forth, or how often you want to just stick to boxing, or like what's your thought process? Because obviously this is the first time you're going into boxing. So what's kind of where's your head at with it all?
So this is under exhibition rules, so I don't have to have a license or anything like that.
Is it still officially a
But
pro
as I
fight,
go
or is it
in,
just still an exhibition fight?
I've, I've just been told an exhibition,
Yeah.
and I'm wearing 10-ounce gloves, so that's what I'm going with. But if I was to go into the boxing scene full time, I would have to get a license, and then under the license, I wouldn't be allowed to fight Thai boxing full stop. Um, so yeah, it's a
Mm.
big decision if I do want to do that, because I can't mix and match. So I feel like having this fight as exhibition, then hopefully I'll be able to see where I stand with it all.
That's a good way to look at it, not trying to think too far ahead. I mean, do you think, because it's funny because you think boxing is the big mainstream sport, if you like. Although MMA is massive, and I do think MMA has taken over globally. I still do think that in the UK, especially, boxing is probably still slightly bigger than MMA. But Thai boxing is really getting big. I feel like Thai boxing is really big. So the funding for Thai boxing is coming in. But that's kind of maybe the one thing that I was going to wonder was, obviously, do you think there's more money in fighting in boxing as opposed to like Muay Thai? Like, is your goal for your career to be a world champion no matter what, or how big of a financial impact will that have? Like, are you more worried about obviously making the most amount? Everyone likes to make money, so like, is that something you've had to
Yeah.
think about?
There's definitely more security in boxing. Um, I just, I'm just gonna go with the flow. Like, I'll always have it in my head that I'll come back to Thai boxing and I'll fight for a world title. Just because I spent so much of my life working towards that, I feel like I just need to complete that part. So even if it's in 5 years' time and I go back to Thai boxing and fight for a world title, then I'll do that. But that is the end goal: is to have a world title in Thai boxing, just to say, yeah, I've done it.
I think it's such a shame that the British Board of Control like just completely say, well, it's either boxing or nothing. This sounds a bit stupid.
Yeah, I'm not too sure of the ruling underneath it, but I'm guessing it's because it's more head trauma. So, like, obviously with Thai boxing, you can throw the kicks to the legs and things like that. So it's not necessarily a head just get pounded in full stop. So with boxing, there's a lot of headshots. So I'm guessing it's more to do with trauma and health and safety and things like that.
Or just a bit of, they just want you for themselves. I'm sure there's probably an element
Yeah,
of that as
maybe.
well.
I'm trying to be nice.
Yeah. Who do you look up to in the fight game at the moment? Like, who are, like, outside of the guys in your gym and stuff? Like, who are some fighters that you look up to that you think, "Do you know what they're doing is sick?"
There's a few people at the minute. Obviously you've got like Iman Barlow running the scene. Yeah, there's loads of girls that are pulling through at the minute, and it's just inspiring to see that they're really pushing themselves as much as the boys. So it motivates me then. But yeah, all of the girls running the game, I'm inspired by them.
I think it's pretty safe to say that women's martial arts has never been as good as it is right now. And there was a really interesting conversation that I saw Eddie Hearn having on Ariel Helwani's show, where he was talking about how, you know, if you look at boxing especially, a lot of the best still don't fight the best. There's so much politics involved. Whereas with women's boxing or with women's fighting in general, there's not really any of that. Like, the best of the best constantly fight each other in women's sports, which is a big credit to them because it doesn't happen in the men's most of the time.
Yeah, it's because you have to prove yourself as well. Because in fights, like every fight I have, I put my heart and soul into it, and then I'll get out and like people will come up to me like, "Oh, that was a hell of a scrap." Like I preferred watching that to some of the boys, and it's like, shouldn't you shouldn't even compare it like that. But I'm glad that I put in the effort, that I stood out on the show rather than the boys. So I feel like girls just have that little bit of a edge to try and be seen a bit more.
Do you feel as though you've always had a bit of a chip on your shoulder?
Um, Not so much now because it's starting to sort of even out. But especially when I was younger, um, like when I first went pro and then started getting paid for it a little bit, like a lad who was fighting C or B class was getting more money than I was, and I don't want to touch on it too much because that could be just promoters and things like that. But this seemed to be the way of I was doing more but getting paid less. But it seems to be evening out, so that's good.
I think that's where sponsorship is so good, because sponsorship kind of just balances it all out. Like, as long as, you can build a good relationship, the opportunities are endless to make money with sponsors.
Oh yeah, big time. But yeah, it's just touching on the thing where a lot of people go for the boys instead. Where, if you think about it realistically, more eyes are going to be on the girls. So, it seems silly. So, if people want to sponsor me, hit me up.
You strike me as someone that's very ambitious. Like, I think it's very obvious to see you've got a lot of drive, you've got a lot of confidence. Um, like, where does that come from? Does that come from with just you like building it up through the years of the experience, or like where does the confidence and the ambition come from?
uh, Mainly my parents just backing me, I think. Just 100%. Because I used to get bullied a bit in school for fighting. And my mum and dad never were the people to be like, oh, just shy away from it. Like, we'll just calm it on the fighting or like posting about it. Like, they said, like, no, you should be proud of your achievements. Like, and that's why you're shouting about it. Because people used to just be like, oh, it's such a big head. You keep on winning these fights, you keep on posting about it. It's like, well, that's what you do.
Yeah,
Like,
look, what are they
so
doing?
yeah, exactly. So every time that I was winning, I was posting about it, and then my mum and dad were like, "Yeah, this is such a big achievement." And then, yeah, over time, people have sort of shunned me off a bit because they think I'm arrogant, but I'm just confident and proud of what I've done. So, losers.
Yeah, you should always be proud of yourself. Fuck anyone else. Like, that's just people that just have nothing going for themselves. And that's just a large portion of society, unfortunately. Like, a lot of people are just very quick to downplay your own achievements, because they're looking at you as like, well, there's nothing really to shout about. As well, what are you doing? Like, you've got nothing going on. Like, you can't understand why I'm proud of myself or how I got to this position, because it's not something you'd be ever capable of.
Yeah, see, it's like when the Mayweather thing dropped, people from school started messaging me saying, "Wow, this is sick. Like, do you remember me from school?" and things like that.
Mm.
And it was like, I actually do remember you from school, but you never actually supported me. You made comments and said it was a boys' sport and things like that. So that's why you're not coming along on the journey. Like, people who have supported me from the start will be coming along on this journey with me.
Do you feel as though you've had a few people over the last like couple of years, the more you've had success and the more how, it's been a gradual, consistent success? Do you think you've had more people kind of creep up and try jump on the journey, if you like, and jump on the bandwagon now that you're having maybe not global, but like having more recognition?
Uh, Not as such. I don't think I really take too much notice of it, so I just don't have the time or energy. So it's like going training, coming back, and then I read through my DMs every so often, and then see like a few people be like, "Oh, do you remember me from school and things?" But yeah, it is what it is.
It is what it is. What are your plans for this year? I mean, outside of this fight, like, what if you were to look back at yourself after the end of this year? Like, what are some things that you would have liked to done? And that could be inside or outside of fighting. It doesn't have to be necessarily fighting related.
Uh, so I ended up going viral back end of last year. Some lad called Robbie. He posted a picture of me all bloodied up from a fight and then all dolled up, and then that ended up going viral. I think his post ended up getting 30 million views or something ridiculous like that. And then people were writing news articles about me. So my social media blew up. So I feel like I'm just on the wave of social media right now, obviously, because that can be another income, and it just helped me with my fighting career as well, to sell tickets and things. So I feel like I'm just going to jump on the social media wave, and obviously there's all the influencer boxing shows and things like that. So even if I'm not fighting on it, I would love to get involved, maybe like commentary or something, or interviews.
That'd be sick. Something different.
Yeah, I want to be involved in the fight world, but outside of fighting as well, obviously. So like when I retire, I can still be involved somewhere or another. But
Yeah.
obviously I can't just retire and then jump in. Like I'm gonna have to do little bits and bobs now to put my foot in the door.
Yeah, well, you see loads of fighters, you know, like you said, that security is the big thing. That's why you see a lot of fighters have their own little businesses, or you see mate, podcasters are so popular nowadays. Like, it's just a good avenue. I think with podcasts especially, I think the reason why they're so popular with fighters is because generally when you follow a fighter, you're seeing them either posting videos of them training or you're watching them fight. And you might see the odd interview here and there. Whereas when fighters actually have a platform that they build themselves and they have their own podcast, it's a way for them to basically put their personality out there. And then when people are invested into them, they can actually get to know you as more. So it's like yeah, it's a good way for people to actually get to know you on a more personal level, I guess, and that gets you more marketable, I guess, as well. Like that, I think that's
Yeah, see, I've
that's
been
the
doing a few interviews, and people have said, "Oh, like things you said like are actually pretty cool. Like you should start a YouTube." And I've been trying to start a YouTube, but I just keep on forgetting to pick the bloody camera up. So I'm just gonna have to get some money back and then pay a videographer or something to follow me around and then start shooting content that way.
Well, I guess you can just kind of go like just kind of. Do you know what it is? The best advice I always give to all my mates is you can't. I think there's a good element of just being like you just got to wing it sometimes. Like you might not necessarily know what you're gonna do,
Yeah,
but you got to like just have a bit of blind faith and just say fuck it. We'll just see what happens.
yeah. Well, that's pretty much what I'm doing at the minute.
Well, Sammy, this has been a great chat. I appreciate you coming on and chatting to me. I wish you the best for the fight. It's going to be a good fight. It's going to be a great card as well. I mean, it's not a bad way to make your boxing debut fighting at the O2 under Floyd Mayweather.
I know. I'm freaking out every time I hear that. Actually, I looked at the floor plan and my heart was just
Does it
racing a
still
bit
not
too
feel real
much.
yet?
No, Dreamland. And next week I've got the press conference and open workout and things like that. So I'm cacking my pants.
Are you going to be in London for the whole week before then, I'm guessing?
From the Tuesday or the Wednesday, yeah.
Cool stuff. Well, at least it gets you ready as
Yeah, I
well,
can't
because
wait.
if, you know, I think from what it seems like, you're going to have a very successful career even outside of this fight. So this is kind of like your first taste at what's to come, I guess.
Yeah, hopefully anyway. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Well, I believe in you. But Sammy, where can people find you?
So I'm on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at sammyjoluxton1.
There we go. I'll put it all in the bio as well. But yeah, make sure you watch Sammy's fight on the 25th of February. And thank you for coming on. Take it easy.
Thank you for having me. Bye.